Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Traveling in Ireland broadcast. My name is Jody Halstead, and I am the publisher of Ireland Family Vacations, as well as your host on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. So today we are going to talk about finding airfare for your Ireland vacation. Now, this is something that I get a lot of questions about. How do I find the best airfare? How do I know? I had something pop up. Hold on, sorry. How do I know when to buy my airfare and things like that? So we're going to touch on that today for just a few minutes. Now, this is not an episode that is going to teach you about travel hacking or flight hacking or using miles, because that is just not something that I do. I don't have time for it, to be quite honest. And all respect to the people that I know and that I love who really enjoy that. I don't. It's just not my game. And so this is all very straightforward things anyone else can do, no matter if you fly a lot, if you don't fly at all. These are the tips that I use to find my own airfare when going to Ireland. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and pop up another screen here. And we'll get started with my first recommendation. All right, so I am going to go down into the bottom corner. There we go. So the first tool that I use is Kayak. Kayak has been around forever, and I know there are a dozen other tools that are just like it or just as good and all those things. But Kayak is the one I use. It's very straightforward, and it's just easy for me. So on Kayak, the thing that I like about it is that you can search from your you do your basic search from your airport to your airport, and you put in your dates. Now, the thing I like about Kayak is that you can tell it if you want to go on an exact date or if you want to search a day before, a day after, or 1, 2, or 3 days before and after the dates that you choose. I really like that because you can sometimes get a variance of a couple $100 if you just switch one day of your trip. So that's the first thing I recommend. Now, you can compare at these sites here. I never do it. So it's my personal preference, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes, but it's just not something that I do. So I only search Kayak when I'm in here. And we'll go ahead and put that in. I am going to Ireland again in January. So these are actually dates that I've been searching. And Kayak will pull up the best flights. If your internet's not painfully slow like mine seems to be today. So it's telling me right now that leaving on Sunday the 19th and returning on the 28th is offering me the best flight. I click it, and the best flight should pop up for me right here at the top. Right here. So very easy, very simple. Now, Kayak has a price prediction, and I really like this feature because it tells you if the price is set to go up or down. Now, my computer's being a little slow right now, so it's not pulling up. There we go. There's the price alert. So it's telling me that right now the average price for that route is $534. So the 605 that we saw is higher than the 534. So what I've done is I've set a price alert, and Kayak will email me when that price goes down. Now, will it go down? I don't know. So I have to kind of decide if I'm okay going ahead and buying that now or if I want to wait a little bit. Again, all your choice. But I like the price alerts because they come in for the dates you've chosen and the route you've chosen. So I usually set 2 or 3 routes, and Kayak lets me know when it is time for me to buy. The next tool that I use is Airfare Watchdog. Now, Airfare Watchdog is one of those things you can't get quite as in-depth in your search with Airfare Watchdog as you do with Kayak. But you can tell it that I want to travel in January and I only want nonstop flights. And I can choose Minneapolis to Dublin. and I can have it show me the deals, and then it can send me the deals if I click this little button right there. So all I have to do is tell it to send me the deals, and it will send me deals. Show me deals. Ta-da. So right now it's showing that there's this route for $4.27 from Minneapolis to Dublin. Looks like United and Lufthansa have this deal. Now, the thing you need to know about Airfare Watchdog is that if you click through to the deal, it may not be for the days you need. It may not be for as long as you need. I believe this one says it's a 7-day trip. I need a trip that's a little bit longer than that. But this is a really good place to start if you're looking for airfare deals. You know that these two airlines have a deal going on, and you know, go over to those two airlines and take a look, and maybe they will have something for your dates. So has the find this fare, and you just click it in and go. Now, one thing I want to mention when you're dealing with a search engine like this, so any search engine, whether you're using Kayak or Google or anything like that, is when they show you these deals, you're going to see prices come up from places like Just Fly and Travel Mary and Cheapo Air. I don't book flights through a third-party aggregator like that for one simple reason. When you book through a third-party aggregator, that aggregator then becomes your travel agent. So if anything goes wrong with your flight, if there's a typo on it, if there's a cancellation, if there's a delay, anything like that, the airline can't help you because you used this travel agent to book. So if I see that Aer Lingus has a flight, so this one says multiple airlines, looks like JetBlue. So if I see that there's a flight, let's say like Lufthansa, I will just go straight to their website and find that flight and see if it matches this deal. Usually it does. So I always book through the airline. It's just easier. Usually it doesn't cost me any more. Sometimes it saves me a little bit more, but I always know that because I book direct with the airline, if anything happens, I'm covered. The airline is going to take care of me. Okay, so the next thing I do is I do actually fly Aer Lingus quite a bit. Aer Lingus has added so many routes in the US. They have routes all over Europe. So Aer Lingus is really a great option to fly into Ireland. It's the Irish national airline, and they do actually a really good job. So I always check the Aer Lingus flight for their rates. When you book with Aer Lingus, you're actually booking you're booking your outgoing and your incoming, and then they book it together. So it's almost like you're booking two one-way tickets. But Aer Lingus does a really good job. Their rates are very fair and usually equivalent to what you're going to find on any other carrier. So go ahead and sign up for the Aer Lingus deals, and do keep them in mind if you can. And finally, we have Google Flights. So Google Flights work in a lot of the same way that Kayak does. You're going to just input your route and tell it, you can choose your flight, where you want to fly in the plane and all that. Choose your dates and do your search. So a nice thing on this one is that you can explore other airports within your destination. So I know that I want to fly into Dublin, but if I choose other airports, it will also let me check you flying into Shannon and Kerry and Cork. So it's always worth taking a look at those. So that's a nice little addition there with Google. Another thing that you can do is to just go ahead and do a search, whatever your browser of choice is. So with Google or Bing, if you search flights from Chicago to Dublin, it will bring up, obviously your ads will be on top, but then you'll have a flight box where you can just input your information. So Bing does that. Google, I think, will direct you to Google Flights. So you can just really do a simple web search, and that's super easy, right? One more thing I don't want you to discount when you are thinking about booking your flights is using a good travel agent. Because in all honesty, a good travel agent is worth their weight in gold if anything goes wrong. So if you're not comfortable booking flights online, or if you have a large group that you're booking for, use a travel agent. Because if you mistype somebody's name and it doesn't match their passport, if you've mistyped somebody's birthday, heaven forbid, if you've mistyped a passport number, because some airlines make you put in passport numbers. So if you've mistyped anything, a travel agent's going to take care of that for you. That's their mistake. If you have done it on an airline site, or heaven forbid with a third-party aggregator, that's going to cost you a change fee. So a good travel agent is worth their weight in gold, especially if you are doing a large group, or you're just not comfortable. So they're really worth the little bit of cost, because a good travel agent just doesn't cost as much as they probably should. So there is that. So those are my booking tips. Now, before you book those really cheap economy seats, I want you to remember this. Those basic economy seats are meant to be a direct competition for airlines like Spirit and, Allegiant, that's a big one. Frontier, that's another one. Ryanair, if you're in Europe. So these basic economy seats are going to come with no frills. Usually they are 100% non-refundable. So if something happens and you can't make your trip, you're not going to be able to use that airfare for anything else like you would with a main cabin seat. You can just pay a change fee and change your dates or whatever. Basic economy, usually not happening. Might not include luggage, even on an overseas flight. It definitely will not let you choose your seat. So if you're traveling with a group, or with your spouse or with your kids, and you want to make sure you're all sitting together, do not book basic economy seats, because you don't get to book your seat. So keep that in mind before booking those cheapest seats. Just move up to the main cabin, maybe even premium economy or comfort plus, depending on what your airline calls it, for that overseas flight for the extra legroom. Because really, when you're flying overnight overseas, it's really worth that extra $50, $60, $70. Okay. One more thing. Well, there's actually a few more, but one more really important thing, and that is when to purchase your flight. Believe it or not, the sweet spot for purchasing your flight to Ireland or anywhere else is about 6 to 8 weeks before you travel. And I know that strikes fear in the heart of planners everywhere, but it's fact. 56 days is actually 56 days, the best time. So my recommendation is just track your flights, Kayak, Airfare Watchdog, and go ahead and book things for your trip. So you can change hotels easily. You can make alterations, but just keep an eye on those flights. When a great deal comes along, go ahead and grab it. But don't get too worried if it doesn't come along until 2 months before you leave. It will be there. But keeping an eye on those airfare rates is really going to help you know when to buy. Okay? And now I've got 4 tips to help you get that best airfare to Ireland. Okay? Number 1, be flexible. Go ahead and, watch those travel dates a few days before, a few days after, because sometimes, changing your flight, leaving from a Thursday or to a Thursday from a Saturday, or heading home from a Sunday to a Tuesday, you'll save a few $100s quite often. So go ahead and be flexible on those dates if you can. Don't lock yourself into one carrier. I love flying Aer Lingus when I can, but sometimes they're just out of range. So, I've flown on American. I prefer Delta if I can't fly Aer Lingus. But go ahead and watch all the carriers. Don't lock yourself into one unless you're just a diehard airline miles person. And then also check those partnerships if you are an airline miles counter. See who partners with who, because I think Aer Lingus right now partners with United. I think they used to partner with American. So those changed. So do keep an eye on that. Number 3, a lot of the times the airlines will have special seat rates for children. Now you can't get those online. So that would be a situation where you're calling the airline and booking your seats through them. But quite often children's seats will cost less. So it doesn't hurt to check that. And number 4, book your flights round trip. Now, personally, I prefer to fly into Dublin and out of Shannon when at all possible, or in and out of Shannon and skipping Dublin altogether. But your round trip flights are always going to cost less than multi-city. So if you are flying to Ireland and you know that most of your trip will be spent on the western coast, go ahead and look into flying in Shannon. If you know that you would like to go into Dublin and out of Shannon, check that. But also keep an eye on the rates in and out of Shannon and in and out of Dublin, just because it just may cost you quite a bit less. So go ahead and do book those round trip. Now, if you're considering booking a vacation package that includes flights, I have loads of tips for you, and you will find the link for the article up in the show notes. And you'll get links to that, as well as more tips for booking flights out of nearby airports that might save you money as well. So check the show notes, and I hope that this has helped you kind of figure out how to book those Ireland flights, maybe save yourself a little bit of money. As always, if you have any questions, just leave me a comment right down there, and I will respond. I always answer. So thanks so much for watching the Traveling in Ireland broadcast today. And until next time, slán go fóill.